Welcome back. Police have officially identified the country's latest homicide victims. 4 men were killed in the span of 3 days between August 22nd and August 24th. The first victim has been identified as 33-year-old Leonard Collins of Malcolm Allotment East. He was shot on Tuesday, August 22nd, and was found lying in the street in the area of Deliverance Way. The second victim, 34-year-old Philando Williams of Sunset Drive, Sunset Park, he was shot just hours after Collins on early Wednesday morning. Police say Williams was out on bail for at least 4 murders and multiple serious criminal offenses. The third victim, identified as 40-year-old Ronnie Jane Charles of Royal Palm Street off Mackey Street. Jane Charles, who is known for his fight for Bahamian citizenship in the courts, having been born in the Bahamas to Haitian parents. He was stabbed to death on Wednesday night by a 49-year-old male who police later arrested in the very near area where the crime took place. The fourth victim, 25-year-old Dario Dawkins of Rupert Dean Lane, was one of 3 people shot on Thursday evening while standing in front of a home in the area of Rupert Dean Lane and Ferguson Street. Another 25-year-old male and a 4-year-old boy were injured in that shooting. At last reports, the survivors, they were still hospitalized but in stable condition. Police are warning parents to educate your children on the dangers of making false reports, as it can result in innocent people being injured or even killed. The police's admonishment comes on the heels of an alleged attempted abduction of a 12-year-old girl in the Coconut Grove area last week, which police have now confirmed is not true. On Thursday, police reported that shortly before 9 a.m., the child was walking on 4th Street, Coconut Grove, when she was approached by a light-skinned, bald-headed male dressed in a blue hooded jacket who attempted to abduct her. This caused members of the community to assume the recently released registered sex offender had committed this alleged act, which placed his life in danger. Well, after thorough investigations, coupled with the use of advanced technology and surveillance cameras from the immediate area of the reported incident, police say it has been concluded that the incident was not as reported. Police are also advising parents to pay close attention to your children and to seek the assistance of responsible adults when you are unable to watch them or accompany them yourself. Last Thursday, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senator Ryan Pinder, revealed the long-awaited and much-anticipated cannabis bill and associated legislature will be brought to the public for consultation. Meanwhile, Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Dowell, outlines the various components of the bill and its construction so far, explaining that the medical aspects of cannabis and how the government plans to take advantage of those medical properties from cannabis.
For many of you who are familiar with the cannabis plant, there is more than 500 active ingredients that exist. And of those 500 active ingredients, there's more than 100 that have some medical benefit. The Indian hemp plant is now classified with a THC concentration of less than 3% and carries little or no psychotropic effect in its use. The reason why that's important is because the CBD receptors is very important in the treatment of some illnesses, and it does not have any sort of psychotropic effect. And many Bahamians have been reaching out to the ministry to have access to import these drugs into the country.
Dr. Dowell says the compendium of bills is made up of the amendment to the Dangerous Drugs Act, the amendments to the Pharmacy Act, and the cannabis bill itself. He explains how reclassifying Indian hemp is also a part of the amendments being made.
This draft legislation will seek to remove Indian hemp from all current medical legislation and replace it with cannabis. Cannabis will then be removed from the Dangerous Drug Act and reclassified as a controlled substance that would be regulated and controlled by my ministry and other government authorities for handling of cannabis for medical use, scientific research, religious purposes, and yes, the establishment of a local cannabis authority. This will create the space for CBD products, Indian hemp industry, and bring equitable access of cannabis medical products as an option in support in the care of medical patients. I would like to assure the general public that the legislation is focused solely on cannabis for medical, scientific, religious use, and not recreational use.
Dr. Darville also outlines how cannabis will be carefully handled in the medical field so that only those with a medical need will have access.
It is crucial to emphasize that cannabis will only be accessible through prescription obtained from a trained, licensed, registered physician. You can access medical cannabis by way of a prescription from a medical professional. Currently, 18 qualified medical conditions are proposed for the treatment with cannabis, and the list is subjected to change based on additional medical evidence. We underscore that all medicines have some potential negative side effects, and medical cannabis is no exception, because on a daily basis, healthcare professionals throughout this country must weigh and monitor the benefits of drugs and provide therapies to our patients. Our healthcare professionals will be trained to do the same with medical cannabis in prescribing appropriate treatments for given conditions outlined in the legislation.
Dr. Darville explains that regulation will be implemented and upheld to guarantee high-quality cannabis products are produced under strict guidelines, ensuring patients receive the most effective and reliable forms of treatment options available. A new study from the University of the Bahamas has found that married women are more likely than single women to have experienced non-consensual sexual intercourse. The peer review research paper led by Associate Professor Dr. Nyambi Hall Campbell Dean is entitled, "In the Bahamas, She Must Give It Up: Sexual Abuse of Women in Heterosexual Relationships by Their Intimate Partners." The study is based on data collected from 464 married and 1,264 single women in intimate relationships with men. The study also finds that married women who disclose being victims of non-consensual sexual intercourse with their husbands were more likely to have suffered physical harm at the hands of their partner. The data also highlighted higher incidence of psychological abuse among married women in comparison to unmarried women. That said, as the government is still in talks regarding amendments to the Sexual Offenses and Domestic Violence Act to possibly include marital rape as a crime, Minister of Social Services and Urban Development Obi Wilscombe says the findings of UB's study, they are disturbing.
It's troubling. It's difficult to accept. But again, the legislation is but one step. We need many more things to be happening to be dealing with the issues. Why? We have to understand, get to the root of the problems and what's causing these issues in our country. We've seen a number of issues that are obviously troubling and obviously causes us tremendous pain because we all have mothers, have sisters, we have friends who are women. So we want nothing to happen to any. But we want to go through the process as we have, and the Law Reform Commission has been doing the work, and at the appropriate time, I think we'll bring it to the Bahamian people for a final decision.
Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Patricia Scotland, also sharing her views on marital rape. She says this is an issue of human rights.
And when you see that 1 in 4 women then in the United Kingdom were subjected to domestic violence, we made an estimate that it was costing the country £23 billion a year in terms of economic cost. But the cost in lives was much greater than the cost economically. And abuse, whether in or outside marriage, is abuse. And we certainly took the view that women needed to be protected, and they have been protected. Every country, of course, has to have its own debate, have to come to its own decision. But this is really an issue of human rights and whether a woman is entitled to have control over her body and be able to consent to who has access to that body.
The University of the Bahamas' research is set to be published in the upcoming 29th volume of the International Journal of Bahamian Studies in October. And that'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Jareno Saunders. Thanks so much for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.